Tīmata pēnei o ko taupiri te maunga, ko Waikato te awa, ko tūranga wāwai te marae, ko Tamoko Ormsby ahau. Tupu ake au ki konei, ki tōku papakainga, ki Ngaruwhāhia, e ki ko Ngaruwhāhia tōku tūranga wāwai. It's proudly represented by your shirt, tēnā koe, tēnā koe.
Kia ora, mate.
Yeah, bro.
Boom gold never fall, baby.
NGA. So, growing up here, that was cool, bro. I think what's unique about our town is our marae and our community. One of my uncles said we're seventh generation immigrants. You know, Ngāuri o te raupatu. So, you know, my koro he come from, he was in Ngāti Apakura, down those ways, and then they got displaced up to Awhetu, and then slowly moved down to Te Paina, and then come down to Tūranga Wāwai. So Tūranga Wāwai, we've got all this kind of history of all different whānau together, and that become, I suppose, part of our identity, our whānau, and tērā I raranga i a tātou katoa, bro. So yeah, I think it was like, that history part was cool, but also it was like any other Māori little town, you know, you got whānau, go to whānau's house for kai. You know, my koro used to do all the wakas down the river, so we just go down the river, swim, play in mud, jump off the barge. Yeah, bro, play rugby league. Yeah, just your usual. Oh, well, I suppose it's usuals to me, but potentially not usuals to most people. But yeah, bro, koera taku whakatupuranga. Because my dad met my mum. If he didn't meet her, he was going to go into the gang. That's what he was telling me. So if my dad didn't meet my mum, he was straight going to go to the gang. Brought up Tikawiri, Sigawiri, and then yeah. And I'm lucky because they've stayed together so long. So I've seen the role model of being in a relationship and what that means. And my mum's tough, you know. But he's like a real big role model for me as my dad.
It sounds like quite a definitive moment too for your whānau. Like, it was like a crossroads where like it could have been similar to the stories you shared around your other bros, and then now you having a really positive upbringing, a really positive childhood experience. How's that influenced your own perspective and approach to raising kids, to having whānau?
My dad's upbringing was, his dad was never there, so he always did everything for his siblings and and with his mum. And he even stole food because they had no food, and to feed them. So growing up, my dad's always done anything for us, as well as the wider whānau. But yeah, growing up, he's always done things. He's never resorted to violence. And so that's kind of been a role model. He's been a role model for me in terms of how to be in a relationship and what strength that can provide for you, to have someone who always has your back and someone who you can reciprocate that aroha towards. I'm lucky that he's broke that cycle. Yeah, he's broke that cycle, and then he was also good at fighting. I'm not good at fighting, you know, because he was in the trenches, you know. So I'm like, you know, I'm good at mathematics, and I don't know how useful that is in the time, but yeah. So I'm lucky for my dad. He's helped to shape my life and the way it has become.
Right, that's another thing, like the generational difference.
Yeah.
Kind of like, I guess your dad's generation, or generation of Māori males grew up in hard times.
Rugby league, hard.
Rugby culture, drinking culture, labourers jobs too, the truck drivers, the road workers.
Power lines, roads, every type of
forestry.
job.
And a lot of these jobs are tough because of the nature of the mahi. And I feel that also brought forth a lot of tough kind of attitudes around mental health. I was talking to a factory worker the other day, and he said, and he's from that generation. He goes, "Oh, bro, like I I still would say that today. And he wanted to change. He wanted to kind of be able to say he was still saying harden up. He was still kind of had those attitudes there. Though that is true for that generation, bro, do you think it's changed now, or do you think it's any different for this generation moving forward?
I still think it's just like there's still those things of harden up, eh? Like, oh no, I just gotta do it and go through it. I think you can do that, but I think you have to also talk through and share what that experience is. Because sometimes there's the realities of, oh man, this is tough, but it's better if you talk about it and you can share with others what you're going through, or what has to be done. But then their generation, I think, was just, nah, hard enough, this is my own thing I have to go through myself, and that's it, you know, to bear it on their shoulders. So my dad's we've just started like talking about all the things, you know, recently, what he kind of went through growing up, and all the things he kind of had to deliberate and think about himself. So he's gone through it all, and now, you know, in that space of you can share it now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I still think it's difficult for people to share when they're going through stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, bro. Like, trying to communicate is always going to be tricky. It's always going to be hard.
And how's that process been, bro, with Dad? Like,
It's been cool, bro. Like, you know, we just had a yarn the other day. Like, he felt a bit, because he felt a bit sad or guilty that he didn't raise us as good as he could have raised my nephew. So my sister's son, they're pretty much raising him. He's like, calls them dad. And so we were at training the other day, and he was like, oh son, did you fellas, do you remember going on many trips? And I was like, oh yeah, like, no, we had a cool upbringing. He's like, do you remember eating good kai, or what kind of kai did you fellas have? So he's kind of like asking me about my experience of him as a father, but I only have like beautiful memories. Positive, like, great memories of how we were brought up. But to him it might be different. So that was kind of cool to kind of have that little moment with my dad who was talking about those kind of things.
Yeah, it is, Jen. Like, positive mental health stories are still mental health stories.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff we see is often tailored towards like a negative experience that we had to overcome. By having stuff where we're privileged, because there's not many situations where we are, where we're like, actually, I worked out really well because my mum and dad put in the work to get us there. They put in the work to make sure we were financially stable. Like my dad, bro's like real open, real emotional, which is a good thing. And that's not something that, you know, I try and play down just because everyone else is maybe didn't have that opportunity. I think when I first reached out to you, we had a phone call, I think it was, and it's like, "Cheer, bro, you know, mono ki a koe, I want to get you on to come and talk a little bit around like mental health, mental health." And I remember your response was quite like, "Oh, cheer, bro," and then you got hit me with a, "Oh, brother, I don't think I'm made for this." I was like, quite like, wow. You were like talking about a lot of stuff about your own whānau, about stuff with your stuff your dad had, stuff that your dad had done, and I was like, "Oh, okay, sweet." And then I remember walking away thinking, actually, that's probably more of a reason why I should be a part of this Kaupapa, bro. So, if you can you remember some of the stuff?
Yeah, nah, I do remember. And I was like, you know what? I'll just back the bro, and I'll go, I'll come to the Kaupapa, because I remember thinking, wow, mental health, like, I've been quite fortunate in my upbringing, bro. Like, but, like, and I know that because in contrast to my dad's, you know, they had domestic violence in their house. His dad, my koro, used to beat up my nan at the time, and he was like 14, had to stand up to my koro. So, you know, he came through the school of hard knocks, and he's never laid a hand on us or on my mum, and so he kind of set the conditions for us to have like a, you know, good upbringing. You get a boot up the bum for doing, you know, things that kids do. But he faced more, and I know that I would ever have to deal with. And it's the same as for like, you know, our koro, growing up, you know, being whacked for speaking te reo Māori and all of those things because of the things that they went through. But we, you know, kia māua te reo Māori i runga i a rātou pokowhiwhi, i runga i rā ahuatanga. So I was like, oh, bro, I don't really know. Like, and the other thing too is like our little town is just like any little town in Aotearoa. It's got all the problems of violence and drug use. Like I don't know if I should talk about it, but my mate, one of my best mates growing up, committed suicide like 3 houses just down the road, and that was, you know, drug related. And there's like every year from Kapahaka, our tutor told us, I wrote these songs for life, but there's been like a suicide in every year, and those were the songs that we used to sing back at the tangihanga. And he said, I didn't write these songs for people passing away, and they were like, yeah, all those heavy things, bro. So I'm fortunate that I haven't had to experience that myself personally, but like, you know, we're in it, like we're in it. So yeah, I'm lucky for that, for my mum and for my dad, for what they've done for us and my kaumātua. But it's not blinding me from the fact that that's the everyday reality of a lot of our whānau, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like a good point too, bro. Hearing the changes that your dad had to make,
Yeah.
And I think we also have to be careful when we make those comparisons at times too, because it can deny ourselves our own truths.
Yeah.
I've seen this happen with like a few bros where they'll go through something and they'll be like, oh, but it's not as bad as what Hemi's gone through, so I'm not going to talk about it. But I get it, bro. Like that generation had a lot. The dynamics that they had to deal with were difficult. They were very, very present. And I guess we are, bro. We do have kind of a fortunate generation, and kapaka being cool, te reo being cool, mental health being cool.
Yeah.
In the space of time to kind of be more open around it.
I was counting like, wow, how many of our whānau are either like in prison or in like, we've been at the mental health ward, and it's like, bro, I was getting the double digits. I was like, wow, we got 17 whānau who have like either been through been or in prison. Yeah, like on my, yeah, and it's a lot of my, it's also my whānau. So we're like, not many of my other cousins speak te reo Māori. Not many of them have had the same privilege that I've had from my upbringing. So just always cognizant of those things, bro. And I runga i tērā, you know, he haupapa hoki. So we're trying to continue that and push that mahi, bro.
Yeah.
Of te reo Māori and me i rā momo tikanga.
And do you feel like having that strength in te reo is a support thing for yourself and your own mental health?
I think it is, bro. Like, it's huge. When things are usually hard, if you know your hitori and your whakapapa, you can lean on your tupuna, and you can think, wow, my tupuna can give me strength because of all what they've done from raupatu times to, like, you know, voyaging times. If you have your reo Māori, you know you can communicate within yourself and with your tupuna as well. And then you have access to waiata, to haka and to karakia, and also understanding of what those things mean. So that was, I think, with your reo and with your ao Māori comes a lot of tools you can access. And the medium is usually through waiata, through haka, through karakia. And yeah, bro, so that's hugely helped me to ground myself and know who I am. In terms of my own mental health, one of the other things that I've been lucky for, me and my other mate, we were having a kōrero and he was helping his siblings through their own mental health issues, and he's like, oh man, I don't know why they're having a hard time, but I'm okay. And we sat down, I was like, bro, it's because someone's got your back. He's got his wife, his partner who's been there with him from like school. And I was like, and me too, I've been with my wife since we were like, since she was 15, I think. And she's someone that I've been able to lean on and cry to and break down and be vulnerable around. And that's, you know, koia taku toka tū moana, bro. something had happened, and we had like a hard, difficult conversation, and then we drove to Taupiri, and then we just kind of sat out there, and I just remember like being sad or crying and talking about it. But then after finding a space that was dark, we were just on the side of the road talking about it. It felt lighter afterwards. And my mate Tyrone Hicks, his name. I suppose he's one of my role models for relationships, because he was with his partner. He said, never go to bed angry, and that meant like always talk something through. And I try to do that as much as I can. And anytime things are hard, it's always worth talking about. And yeah, so we've always tried to do that. Waimirirangi and I, and yeah, that was one of the first times where it was a tricky time. But yeah, went to Taupiri, and Taupiri's positioned on the main road. If you've been to Taupiri, and the awa's right there, and so we always, te ra hononga ki te ao Māori, knowing your tupuna and your whakapapa, your wai. That was our safe space to have that kōrero. So yeah, I think that helped too, bro.
Yeah, which kind of I was thinking about as you were showing us around, and konei a Waipa, Waikato, we can see Taupiri in the distance. Do you feel that, and actually with your work, bro, you've done historically, do you think that te taiao can be a source of strength for whānau? Going through any struggles, any mental health issues?
Yeah, I reckon, bro. I reckon that tērā kōrero our taiao was te oroko hanganga o te reo Māori me te ao Māori, ko te taiao tērā. And if you're fortunate enough to be able to surround yourself in te taiao, it just kind of is a dampener for everything else, and it's a place to internalise. So that's what's sort of about the hucks. The hucks is a place where, when there's not heaps of people there, you can go up and just internalise really, bro, and just have that space to yourself, to have those quiet conversations to yourself that you otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah, it's almost like a form of, I think, a healthy form of escapism. Because you're right, bro, you need a pause, you need a break from all the distractions. And for a lot of us bros, we're city-based, we're urban-based, and so there's so many distractions, there's so much noise, there's so much clutter in those spaces. So when we get out to our awa, when we get out to our moana, we get out to our ngāhere, we can be like, whā. You can create that mental distance with things, those mental distractions, and then you just got to sit with yourself and like, damn, I have to confront some truths here.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah, the suicide that happened in this community between your whānau, when you, I guess, kind of first found out, what was your response, or what did you first feel?
When I heard my mate committed suicide, bro, I felt gutted, Like I felt like my first question was, could I have changed it? Like, could I have done something? The last time I spoke to him before that, I asked him to come and I was like, my wife and I were getting married, and I was like, who was my first mate? And it was him. But he rang me up the night before the wedding. He was like, sorry, no, we can't come. Like, no, not feeling up to it, going through some stuff. I was like, oh, good, bro, all good. And then, not too long after that, he committed suicide. And I was like, damn, was that like a red flag that I had missed, or did I fail my mate? And so I was like, it was heavy, bro. It still is heavy, because I'm like, I've never felt that
close.
Like, that dark, in a dark space. And so that's why when you asked me, I was like, nah, I haven't been in the spaces that I know my closest mates have been in. And yeah, so it was real heavy, bro. And it's realities, but you always ask yourself, could I have done something to help? And then you reflect on life, you're like, life is this, everyone gets too busy, and when you get too busy, you miss those quality moments, or talk with people that mean the most to you. So yeah, bro, it's always that was a heavy moment, bro, and a reflective moment. I'm lucky for my upbringing, because I wasn't nowhere near what my mate went through. I'm lucky I haven't been exposed to the Class A drugs that just float around in any Māori town. So yeah, I always reflect on how fortunate I am in my upbringing, bro. If Y and I are talking, so if I'm going through something and we'll talk through it, it's not until you go through the talking process that you can tease that all out. And again, I'm lucky because my whānau, we're artists, so you know, we're always talking good things or bad things. But when you open those lines of communication, you have that ability to tease things out.
True. So you've, it's really beautiful to hear that you have such a open, you know, communication line with your partner, with your wife, with Y. Is there anyone else you have that type of relationship with?
My only other person, probably my best mate. He was my best man at my wedding. So yeah, he we're like the complete opposite. Like he's you know, went over to Aussie, taught dance, like makes music, looks cool. You know, and I'm like here with my second hand looking clothes, other than my mean matato shit. We also would just talk about things quite deeply. 3 a.m. he'll be mixing music, and then, you know, we'll just start yarning about something. And so that's a relationship that I have with him. I feel like I can share anything with him. On the other side though, bro, like he went through mental health issues, but he didn't feel like he could talk to me.
True.
And so he moved to Aussie, and then he you know, he had experienced some things. Like he was homeless, bro, and then he had some other relationship issues. But it wasn't until I went over to see him that he like was bringing it out. And because we were geographically distant, I suppose we weren't there to talk to each other. But I felt, again, you know, you feel bad that your mates can't talk to you. I don't know what that is, bro. I don't know if that's like, how do I be there more for my mates, or how do we as Māori men feel like we can talk to our mates when we're going through stuff? Because I could tell he had gone through it and kind of reconciled with himself what happened, and he's stronger because of that. And that's when he was okay to talk about it with me. So yeah, bro, like I think we're built up as individuals now. And we can talk to each other about most things, bro. But yeah, but in that time he was over in Aussie, one of my closest mates. But my wife is probably the one I feel like I can talk to anything about, bro.
Bro, I think that's a real common story. I think a lot of our bros. Sometimes it's pride, and I think sometimes it's also embarrassment. Like in my circle of friends, I feel that comes up like when me and the bros are struggling to kind of open up to each other, is because the other bros are doing really well, and we feel like if I tell them this, they're gonna feel like it's a burden, or they're gonna feel like it's not the issue. So a lot of those things can get in our way. And to be honest, bro, like, and I imagine this is probably true for a lot of bros. Every time I have opened up to my mates, I've never been denied. I've never been rejected. And yet we still kind of hold on to these whakaaro around difficulties opening up with each other. And it's buzzy too, bro, because you're just as open. Like, hey, I can offer myself completely to you, to hold space for me, but sometimes it's not always... and it almost takes that one event, for it to kind of be like, oh, I can't hide anymore, bro, I have to tell you what I'm going through.
But, yeah, he's come through some... He's gone through some stuff overseas, built himself, and now he's in a stronger place. And it's cool. It's he's had to do it all himself though, because I've always had my partner to be like, you know, when you got someone on your team, you're solid. But yeah, so now he's had to do it all himself, and he's in a way better space now.
That's another one, like around just talking about it, like talking about it with our kids, like getting, like our sons, our nephews, being like, okay, like I see you upset, I see something's wrong, but like actually getting to explain it, because I think if we can start doing that, we can start building the skill inside our sons, inside our boys, to be able to talk about it when other issues come up. So it doesn't take us to get to 30 years old and we get hit with some type of issue and we're like, I only know how to scream.
I don't know
I don't have any words to explain this.
I don't know how to deal with it. Yeah, that's true, bro.
So it's really important that, you know, we can have those conversations, and I think kind of go back to the question around like, is there any changes? I still think, bro, yeah, it's stuff that still exists. But if anything, I also see a want for change, like in a lot of spaces, but in mental health, in male mental health in particularly, like I see it, this just generation of rangatahi who actually aware of what mental health issues are, what mental health illnesses, like they can be like, oh, and be okay to seek those types of helps out.
Like no one's perfect, and I know I've overcommitted myself on too many kaupapa, so it's always a fortunate time when I get to speak with my cousins. But I think there's more space to dive into those deeper kōrero, bro. Yeah, because I wouldn't be able to tell you what my cousins are going through. Like, so that sucks. That makes me feel like shit, to be honest. I'm like, fuck. Because you just don't know unless you talk about it.
Exactly, bro. And yeah, it's a very true reality of like being in Te Ao Māori kaupapa community. Like we end up just becoming time poor.
Yeah, bro.
So our intention is to see our cousins, to catch up properly, to like spend actual time. But the sad truth is it almost takes like a crisis event for that to happen.
Yeah, man.
We have to go, oh, actually, I'm going to whakataha tēnei kaupapa, actually I'm going to whakataha whatever.
Yep.
And it makes it hard for us to...
That's interesting you say crisis events, bro, because like, and I think in whānau Māori, or anyone who's time poor, crisis events prioritise your time. You know, they're like, hey, and it sucks because mental health and any type of issue just kind of will slowly build if you don't look into it. And so, you know, there's so many instances where there's been crisis events across our whānau. So and so's done this, or so and so's done that, and you're like, oh no, now we have to go and redirect and reprioritize our time, but it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, bro.
So it's I don't know what that is, bro. I don't know if it's just the way we are in society where you're so busy trying to survive or so busy trying to just do what you're trying to do that you can only have those meaningful conversations if it's alerted, or if the people that are around you are always rolling in those same kaupapa. So we used to have extreme points in our whānau, or we still do, but there was some when we're like, hey, have a whānau hui. And so we'd only like have a hui when something was going bad. And so our whānau slowly have pivoted towards just having hui our whānau, just to open up, see how everyone is. But yeah, it was very much like crisis-oriented communication.
War room type stuff, eh?
Yeah.
And like the other thing, bro, like if you were to take that approach with like your physical health, like say if I'm not going to start training, I'm not going to go to the gym until I get obese, that'd be a terrible way of looking after your mental health. Bro. You're better off doing little efforts, reps over time to look after your mental health. And I was at a kaupapa the other day, and it was an open question to this panel. It was like, oh, you know, how can we kind of manage some of the stuff or respond to it? And I was like, probably the best response, bro, is prevention. And it's having those little kōrero over the week, over the month, over the year, that's going to make... Because other than that, we're just waiting for the boiling point to pop up. And that's real hard. But because... the difference I think, for the likes of you and I, for whānau Māori, is that we're so busy doing kaupapa that we have to wait for it to get to a boiling point for like, oh, yeah.
And the other thing, like in your kaupapa mind, everything's boiling over, like all the different kaupapa are like, oh man,
I've got to go to this hui.
Is it going to be another hikoi, or what's the taiao, you know, climate change and all our iwi, and then you're like, it's so easy. I think it's so easy when you're in kaupapa Māori space to prioritize everything else, and then you don't even make it back to yourself. Like you don't make it back to your whānau. It's usually just always outward.
That's like another thing we have to start asking ourselves there. Like we might be able to take things on, but you have to ask yourself, is it fair that I take these things on?
Yeah.
And I was just thinking of a quote that said, self-care is not self-indulgence, but instead self-preservation. So we often commit ourselves to a very small time period, and then kua pauko te hau, te toinga te tau. So just we have to really like change our relationship with kaupapa for our mental health, because bro, once we get to the end, we're like, yeah, I've got no energy, I just want to watch Netflix for like the whole day. Those aren't even bad things either, like, but we're better off doing that once every night instead of trying to do it all together in a single month. But yeah, bro, koe tēnā. He whaka kōpani pēi ngā kōrero ki konei, bro. You've got your own, I guess you've got your own role models, got stuff that you've learned in terms of your own personal experiences. If you had to pass on any kōrero, any advice or kōrero to a younger generation, to a younger tamoko maybe, if you could, what would you say to young tāne Māori growing up and looking after ourselves in a better way?
I'd probably say you can look after yourself as well as you look after others, because that's something I didn't do and something I still struggle with. Because always in my mind is always everyone else, but yeah, it's at the detriment to myself, and that's kind of something that's ingrained in me. It would be good if it wasn't. It would be good if it was to have something around balance. And then the other thing was you can always talk about this to someone. Like there's always someone you can talk through things with, and it's just I'm just reflecting on my mates and what they've been through, and just wish that we could have had conversations. No matter what people are doing, you know, if they're doing mean or not doing mean, you can still always reach out. So that would be the things that I'd probably share. No, I don't have any like proverbs or anything. It's just like far out, man.
That's
look after yourself just as well, and then just talk through things that are hard.
Koe hoki te oranga te kōrero e. Oh shit, you probably should do some self-work as well.
Yeah, very hard.
Nah, me bro. Che.
We'll try and...
Bro,
me bro. Tēnā koe bro.